So one of the takeaway reflections for a layperson is the 5 recollections. I'm subject to aging. Aging is unavoidable. And number 2, I'm subject to sickness. Sickness is unavoidable. Number 3, I'm subject to death. Death is unavoidable. And number 4, I'm subject to separation from all that is dear and appealing to oneself. And number 5, the karma. I'm subject to I'm the owner and the heir to my karma. So this is the 5 kinds of recollection. So number 4 and 5, we've been doing it in the 4 sublime states. The number separation from the loved one is the appreciative joy, when we add some insight. And the 5th recollection on karma, that's the 4th sublime state on equanimity. So now we're going to sort of emphasize on the first 3 again. So we are doing the impurities of the body meditation. So that is to learn to let go of the body. Because we are always sort of associated with the body, and one of the greatest attachment is probably towards the body. So we start off with visualizing all the hairs of the head, hairs of the body, and we are going to wish them well and happy. So if we do not wish them well and happy and just think of the image of the hair alone, then that could be very subjective to craving. So if any pleasant feeling arises, so this is the moment-to-moment dependent origination. If you have mind-door contact, because we are visualizing, our eyes are closed, so we are using the mind-door contact with the hair, imagination of the hair, then you have feelings. Either you have pleasant feelings, neutral feelings, or unpleasant feelings. So if you have pleasant feelings and you react with greed, or if you have craving, and you have pleasant feelings, then you react with greed. For example, the hairs are so beautiful, I like my hairs, then you develop greed. And if you have unpleasant feeling, let's say, the hair looks so ugly, I don't like this fashion, then one will develop aversion or agitation. So that is the craving of aversion. And if you get a neutral feeling, there's no pleasant or unpleasant feelings, and one will develop a delusion, craving of delusion. The hair is just hair or just like that, right? So there's no urgency to seek for detachment, you just want to stay there. So there is a craving for delusion. So there is 3 kinds of cravings, and each kind of craving will lead to attachment, lead to addiction. So once you think the hair is so beautiful, so nice, then you'll fantasize about the hair, how will people praise you in your hairstyle, what kind of products you look for to enhance the beauty of the hair. So all this is clinging and becoming. You become part of that story, and you go through the birth, aging, sickness and death of that story, ups and downs of that dramas. Okay, so this is what will happen if the mind is left unchecked. So what we're going to do to sort of slowly break away this dependent origination chain is to deliberately generate right thought, basically using the Noble Eightfold Path. Once we visualize the hairs, we are going to wish them well and happy. When a new image appears, new patch of hair, may they be well and happy. Think of a new patch of hair, may they be well and happy. So we are reducing the craving of aversion. Every time you think of a new patch of hair, we call this mindfulness of the body. So this, your so-called evidence is the deliberate visualization of the hairs, and the right thought is to wish them well and happy, not to wish my hairs well and happy. Once you have the my hairs, then that is basically a kind of becoming. And repetition is part of right effort. So at the end of the dependent origination link, in the forward order, talks about suffering, birth, aging, sickness, death, sorrow, lamentation, despair, anguish, and so on. So in the meditator's moment-to-moment experience, that comes in the form of agitation and tension, tension and stress. So that is the symptoms of suffering caused by craving. So if you are meditating on the right track, you apply right thought, you reduce craving, then this so-called stress and tension will subside or will reduce. It will settle, these craving formations will settle down. Okay, if your mind is quite settled down, then we can take note, this is the baseline kind of emotion. This is the minimum requirement for insight. So now we're going to use this relatively calm mind to reflect on the birth, aging, sickness and death of the hairs. All the hairs go through this process. And we think of the hairs growing and falling, many, many cycles. The more cycles, the merrier. And as we keep looping this process, then we can observe the sense of self, which is part of this clinging and becoming. Is it increasing or decreasing? So that's in relation with impermanence and detachment. So everything is a cause and effect. So why we call it dependent origination? Because we have to know the earlier link. When we stop something, it will stop the cascading effect. We cannot straight away jump to the end point. I do not want to have suffering, but you do not plant the causes. So you must know the chain of events that lead to the reducing or overcoming of suffering. So every moment keep on reflecting on impermanence of all the hairs growing and falling, growing and falling. So theoretically, if a person were to just continue these the whole day, it's possible to, if a person were to just do this particular step alone, it's possible to reach enlightenment. How fast or how slow depends on each individual's faculties. So in any meditation object, it's about how much right thought versus wrong thought. Wrong thought will be the stray thoughts, and the mind spend more time with the stray thoughts, and it can be kind of like defeat the purpose. And then we can ask ourselves, are these hairs truly self? Can we tell the hairs not to go through birth and death? So next we can think of the nails, fingernails and toenails. And we're going to wish them well and happy. So in this particular phase, when we just wish things well and happy, because we are not reflecting on impermanence, so there's no detachment, we observe the sense of self. How does it re-solidify in between the samatha and vipassana aspects of this impurities of body meditation. So there's also an indicator to know if whether you still have a sense of self or selfishness. And if a person still has, means not yet enlightened, has to have room for improvement. Okay, then now we're going to add some insight. So all these nails go through birth, aging, sickness and death. So we keep on thinking, looping these nails, growing and falling, many, many cycles. And we can observe this causality of events, how this sense of ego or sense of self, does it increase or decrease? And how does ego relate to stress and suffering? And we can ask ourselves, are these nails truly self? Can we tell the nails not to go through this birth and death? And next we can think of the teeth, all the teeth inside the mouth, and we wish them well and happy. Okay, and all these teeth are subject to birth, aging, sickness, and passing away. So you think of the teeth growing and falling, many cycles. And the more we loop this process, we can observe the so-called dependent origination, how the links affect this ego, how does ego increase or decrease. So whenever we generate a new thought, we call it mental formations, that's sankhara. And when we are aware of this sankhara, that is called consciousness. So in this particular sense, that's the mind door consciousness. And this mind door consciousness has all the 5 aggregates called nama rupa. Form, feeling, perception, mental formation, consciousness. And once the sense door you got a contact, then you have the feelings, and from feelings then you see whether there's any craving. So you think of impermanence, you're actually working on reducing the craving. So in this moment-to-moment dependent origination, whenever you form a new thought or a new consciousness arise, there is no need to sort of die and take birth in a new place. So if you are hearing my voice, then you're using your ear consciousness. And you go back to visualizing, that's the mind door consciousness. So we call this the here and now Dhamma, to be seen immediately. Here and now, there's no need to wait for the next life or look at a past life. So immediate observing this arising and passing of this clinging. In fact, this controlled visualization of this birth and death of the parts of the body is as good as seeing past lives. Because you're doing it many cycles. And you don't have to waste or invest time developing certain abilities to see past lives. So it is rather immediate. Okay, then we can ask ourselves, are these teeth truly self? Can we tell the teeth not to go through birth and death? And next we can think of the skin, and we wish all the skin well and happy from head to toe. Every patch of skin, may they be well and happy. Then we can think of the impermanence of all the skin. So skin goes through this birth, aging, sickness and passing away. And we keep looping this birth and death process. And we can reflect on the dependent causality. How does applying right thoughts reduce this clinging and attachment and the sense of self? And then we can ask ourselves, are this skin truly self? Can we tell the skin not to go through this birth and death? Okay, so now we're going to switch to the four sublime states, so there's no need to visualize anymore. Now we're changing to the sense contact, body door contact. So we're just feeling the sensation. So we call this body sense door, mainly the nervous system. So whatever sensation that you can detect, same dependent causality, we wish all the sensations well and happy. If we just observe the sensation alone and do not generate right thought, then a similar thing will happen, either you have greed or hatred. And if you have pleasant feeling, then the mind will create stories and dramas on the pleasant feeling. And if you have unpleasant feeling, then all the complaints, agitation, and all the dramas and stories of the aversion and unpleasant feeling. So every moment new sensation appear. May they be well and happy. New sensation appear. May they be well and happy. So every time the mind picks up a new sensation or from a new region, different location, then there's a new formation, new attention, new contact of the body door with the 5 aggregates. If your mind is quite settled down, then we take note of this baseline emotion. And now we are going to go to the third sublime state. So we are actually going to rejoice in the accomplishments of all beings, above, below, and all across, all directions, We rejoice in whatever beings they've gained, every tiny bit of experience, life experience gained, we rejoice with them. So every time we detect any new sensation, that's also gaining a new life experience. So new sensations appear, rejoice with all beings. New sensation appear, rejoice with all beings. So the whole idea is not to visualize and go to the dramas, the clinging and becoming. Continue the right thought, right effort. Okay, so if there's increment of happiness and peace compared to the baseline emotion, and that will indicate the third level of concentration from this third sublime state. And regardless of what you experience, keep on reflecting on this rejoicing with all beings. Okay, now we're going to add some reflection, some insight. And all beings will eventually be separated from all that is dear and appealing to them. So So similarly, all these sensations will come and go all the time. They don't stay past 24/7. So you keep on reflecting, observing how they arise and pass away. If, let's say, the joy and happiness start to fade away, this time round one may experience this sense of wholeness, and we call this the perception of infinite consciousness. And regardless of what you experience, keep on reflecting on impermanence. Treat everything else as a distraction and byproduct. So in terms of dependent origination, there are three kinds of becoming. Sensual becoming, form becoming, and formless becoming. So that depends on whether you cling on to your stray thoughts, which is your sensual desires, sensual becoming, and you cling on to the form or formless concentrations, then it will lead to form and formless becoming. So the whole idea is we take note of whatever states of mind, but we don't cling on to them, always mindful of impermanence, generate right thought. Then we move on to the fourth sublime state, which is equanimity. And that's the fifth reflection on karma. So I'm the owner of all beings are the owners of their karma, heir to the karma. Whatever they do for good and for evil, they shall fall heir, they shall receive. So in this case, there's no need to speculate what we've done in the past. We just observe every moment, here and now. Any pleasant sensation appearing, then that's due to good karmas ripening. Any unpleasant sensation appearing, then that's bad karmas ripening. And any neutral sensation appearing, then that's neutral karmas ripening. So in short, every experience, every moment is generated by karma. So we call it karmic formations or sankhara. So that's the part of dependent origination also. So the reflection on karma is actually reducing this craving. Not just identifying, but deliberately labeling karma. Okay, if the mind is more accepting towards karma, then one will experience this equanimity of the fourth level of concentration, this neutral and refreshing kind of experience. And regardless of what you experience, keep on reflecting on karma. Okay, then now we're going to add some insight, some wisdom. We're going to reflect that how to overcome these karmas. Yeah? So that is to keep reflecting on impermanence of all feelings, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral feelings, how they arise and pass away. And if, let's say, the joy start to dissipate, and one may experience a kind of blankness, so that is the realm of perception of nothingness. And even there's perception of nothingness every moment. To so-called maintain this nothingness, there's always the arising of karmas, new fabrications. So keep reflecting on impermanence. Okay, so I leave it to your own self-practice.